Go ahead. I call this meeting to order, Executive Finance at, I don't know, 3:45. Shelley, can you do a roll call? We'll do invocation and come back.
Jody Fishinghop.
Here.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
Bill Anglin.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Joe Bird. Julia Coates.
Here.
Meredith Fraley. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Don Garvin. Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Tina Gloria Jordan.
Present.
Lee Keener. Dick Lay.
Here.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
David Thornton.
Yo.
David
Here.
Walkingstick. Kara Callan Watts.
On you.
And we do have a quorum.
Okay, do I have a vote?
I make a motion that we recess this meeting until after we come back from our council meeting.
You have a second by walking stick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll recess.
You did good. Just thank you for taking care of business of the tribe and just keep us moving forward. And we thank you for the leadership of the tribe, dear Lord, and let us, whatever decisions we make it for the betterment of the tribe. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Yes. Jody Fishinghop.
Here.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
Bill Anglin. Jack Baker.
Here.
Joe Bird. Julia Coates. Meredith Fraley. Janelle Fulbright. Don Garvin. Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Tina Gloria Jordan.
Present.
Lee Keener. Dick Lay.
Here.
Curtis Snell. David Thornton.
Present.
David Walkingstick. Kara Callan Watts. We have a quorum.
Okay, first, do I hear a motion for the approval of the minutes from the January 26th meeting? How about the January 26th Terrell Subcommittee meeting?
So moved.
Okay, second by Frankie. Reports. There are submitted reports. If you have any questions.
Vote.
Oh, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Mrs. Horn, Stewart, Kelly, and Knight asked that we let them go, and if you have any questions, please email them.
I move that we accept their written report.
I'll hear a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? On to the consent items. Arrow.
Make a motion to be approved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? How about the cemetery restoration assistance?
I'm passing a list out to those right now, Madam Chairman. And this also has the community assistance updates on it and law enforcement. And I do have two to add to the community assistance. One of them is a $1,000 District 1, split 3 ways. For War Pony Community Organizational Outreach. And the second one is the Cherokee County Junior Livestock Association for $4,000, split evenly between the counselors for organizational support. Those are the only additions to what I just handed out.
Make a motion to approve the cemetery restoration assistance applications.
Second.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I need to make sure for Councilman Anglin that a particular cemetery is on here. He had asked me about Drywater Cemetery in Sperry. I don't know if that was a late submission or not, Doug. I told him I would make sure that it was on here.
Drywater Cemetery. Did he happen to give a contact name?
He did not.
It's okay. We can get that from him if you want.
Okay, but we can add that to the list. Drywater Cemetery in Sperry?
Yep.
Okay. So with that friendly amendment accepted, Madam Chairman?
I will accept.
Okay, thank you.
Any others? I hear a motion for approval.
We already have a motion.
Okay, go ahead. All in favor? All opposed? On to the community assistance.
We just had those two items on there that wasn't on the original report, the ones in black print, in addition to the two I mentioned earlier.
I move for the approval.
A second with a friendly $500 for the Bartlesville Indian Women's Club organizational support. Would you accept that? All right, very good.
Bartlesville Women's Club,
Indian Women's Club.
Indian Women's Club.
Any others? Do I hear a motion for its approval?
So moves.
Oh, second it, okay, all,
Move the vote.
let's have a vote.
Aye.
All opposed? Law enforcement, Doug.
The 500 Bartlesville Indian Women's Club is out of your,
That's correct.
Make a motion approved.
Law enforcement, I hear a second. Any changes?
Second.
no change.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Roads.
Okay, we do have, Mr. Garden has a couple of road projects he'd like consent on. I believe it's Oak Grove Church and Country Club, South Country Club Road. And these projects will deplete Mr. Garden's fuel tax and vehicle tax. I think they gave you two? Yeah, they did. There were no projects in your book, so both of these are amendments to the road report.
So make a motion to be approved.
Second.
All those in favor? All opposed? Seeing as how there's no old business, let's go on to new. Mr. Dick Lane, Councilman Lane.
Sorry.
The Community Assistance Fund.
Well, I'd like just to open up a discussion about the Community Assistance Fund. I'd like for y'all to tell me what it should be used for. And I'd like a discussion on that, and I may make a motion on it, but as y'all know, and the folks aren't here, but, so $10,000 was pulled out of it for some sort of a mail out, which totaled $18,000. And in my mind, this doesn't look like the type of fund that should be used for. I'd just like a discussion about it, and if somebody could tell me, has that ever happened before?
Councilman Thornton.
Thank you. In the past, if we had community meetings, our mail-outs to notify the public about community meetings have been used. But I don't know if it's used out of this fund. I don't know if is there another fund that you pull that out of?
Yes, sir. Yeah, there's a community mail-out fund or account.
Is that divided up evenly between all council people?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then that's a completely different fund, and I have no idea how much is even in there
Is it
for each
memory.
community.
the 50? Is that there's a community mailing that you have for your postage and your reproduction costs, and there's a community meeting that you pull out of for your supplies and your building rental, things like that. There's two different accounts.
There's a mail out, is what you're talking
Yes.
about?
Yeah, there's one that's for postage and
Now, there's a community meeting fund that you can pull out food and other things out of it.
yeah, that one too. Let me go grab my.
There's about three there then, and I don't know, I don't know why you'd have to use this for mail-outs unless you just had an ungodly amount of mail-outs.
I don't think we have that mail out anymore.
I think my community people,
Yes, you
you know,
still-
I'd
you still
love
got
to
it.
help them, the organizations, and any other way I could help in schools and churches and whatever. But, you know, some of these people live in a district that are completely different than mine. I mean, you're talking about a different class of people, and they may not have to use it. You know, I don't want to get too much into that, but the thing about it, my people, you know, we need all the help we can get down there. And when you look at the other districts that have a different class of people, you know, they don't need as much help. I don't believe, but who knows?
I think it shut down the mailroom for a couple of days, did it not?
I don't know.
The mail out has 3,000 per counselor.
Oh, they do?
The community meeting expense, which would be the supplies and the incidentals and building rental and stuff, is 1,500 per counselor.
Okay.
That's in addition to your, of course, your community assistance.
Can we discuss that, or is that off limits?
No, that's fine, go right ahead. Continue.
The 1,500 per counselor on these meetings, community meetings, is not enough. And what we need to do is set up community meetings for our public, and like they do when they go to California or Phoenix, or, you know, they've got a fund there that they can bring people in and have their people making baskets, corn silk dolls, play marbles, and do other things. And I think we need to be able to set up something of that nature where we can do that also. Because our people, they're not well versed on all of that, of what to do. And they don't, a lot of our people, like I didn't know I played marbles till I come up here to Tahlequah with playing marbles, you know. But I think, and I think our people would enjoy our meetings much more than having them at midnight, so, you know, in the evenings sometime when you can't get out and you have to do an old building. And I think we need to put more funding into this next year. And I know that we can't do it right now, but it's just my thoughts on that. But as far as the mail-outs, I don't know. I'm sure that at-large people need a lot of funding for mail-outs because they have a lot more people than what we do in our districts. And I don't know whether you need to keep that out of district, in district, I don't know. That's just my thoughts. But I wish that Doug would copy those budgets and let us have a copy of each one of them, because I really wasn't into that mail-out budget deal.
And
Didn't know a lot about it. I knew that,
I've made a request, and I'll re-request it
yeah,
to be sent out to everyone.
okay.
I thought it had been,
Yeah.
but apparently not.
Thank you.
Councilman Hoskin?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My understanding of the community assistance law is that we had a Community Assistance Act on the books. It was repealed, the relevant part of it was repealed, that had to do with community assistant projects. It was repealed when we enacted the Donations and Contributions Law. And the reason we enacted the Donation and Contributions Law is because we had a disagreement with the former administration about whether the so-called slush fund, which was our community assistance fund, was appropriate. And so a compromise was reached with donations and contributions. We don't do donations and contributions the way that law envisioned, which required us to basically go hat in hand to the administration and ask if it was okay if we got our community group together. That's not the way it should have worked, but that's the way it worked. We put money back in a budget or two ago for community assistance, and since then we've been operating, in my opinion, not under. I think we need a law that spells this out a little more clearly, because as I understand it, I haven't talked to Gail directly, but indirectly I've heard that Gail kind of has to look at that donations and contributions law and those procedures, and we still use the form that maybe we used at community assistance. But I really do think we need to clean this up a bit so that there's a very clear law and it spells out. And I had some legislation to do that, but I wanted to work on it some more. That's what I pulled from the last committee meeting. But to the councilman's question, I don't think that the law contemplated that we would do mail-outs. The donations and contributions law that really is the only law in the books that addresses, I don't think it contemplated mail-outs. We never did it. I don't think it expressly, forbid us from doing mail-outs. But when I think of community assistance, I think of the community organizations in my district that from time to time have an event, want to help the kids, want to do something with culture, and they need some money. I do think, though, that we need a very robust mailing budget. And we didn't have one this time. We had a bigger one last time because we do need to communicate with our constituents, and it costs money to do that. So I don't know if that's my version of an answer to the councilman's question. I do think we need to work on it a bit more. I think the ship has somewhat sailed on the spending of the money on the mail out. We approved it at the councilman's request, not Councilman Lay, but the other councilman. I do have a concern that there was such a big mail out that the real cost of that thing was, I'm told, 18 grand, okay? Because you have to take into account the burden it placed on the mailroom. And maybe in the future, if we have admin do our mail outs, we pay the real cost of that. If the real cost is $1,000, it's $1,000. If it's $5,000, it's $5,000. But anyway, I do think we need to work on this, and I appreciate the councilman's leadership bringing this up. Thank you.
He addressed the question there. I mean, I didn't think the community funds would ever be used for mail outs in the first place. That doesn't seem to go hand in hand. And then utilizing the mailroom, I didn't know if that was spelled out in the appropriations anywhere in the resolution. Was it not?
If you yield for a response. I think there's been times in the past, I've never used the mailroom, but I think when there's been a simple postcard mail out saying, Cherokee community meeting in this town, I could be wrong, but I think they've used the mailroom, and it was probably a minimal burden on the mailroom. But in all fairness, maybe on those occasions we should have paid the full cost. In this occasion, I think it was a complicated mailer that involved a lot of labor by the mailroom. I don't think that's been done before. And my only thought is if we're going to do it, if we're going to ask the administration to do it, then we pay for it. And I don't think in this instance we pay for it.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
That was my question, Doug. I know it cost $18,000. They had $3,000 apiece for a mailer. There's $9,000. If they use their 1,500 community assistants, we're looking at $13,500.
My understanding, I believe there's 10,000 of community assistance utilized, and the balance of the mail out of each one, and the total I believe is going to be quite a bit over 18, because I believe we've received about 5,000 so far returned, and when they are postage returned, you pay postage again.
You pay, I was about to say.
Okay, so which is going to be an issue. I'm just telling you right now, because the counselors that paid for this is not going to have enough money left in any of their accounts to cover, except community assistance again, to cover the return postage on all those bad addresses. Thousands are coming back in. They're still coming back.
They're still coming back.
They're still
We're at
coming.
$5,000. If you ask for returns as requested, I'm thinking, if I remember right from my election, I paid 75 cents a piece for each one that come back to me.
I don't know how much it is. All I'm saying is that we have thousands and thousands of them returned for bad address, and it's going to be, once we finish collecting them all in, there's going to be a significant charge that's in addition to what the mail out incurred. The returns is going to be another one. The community assistance is going to be the only option for the counselors that mailed that out to go to of any allocated fund that you people have. You see what I mean? So, and we would certainly, from the administration of the Community Assistance Fund, I know that, to speak on behalf of Gail too, I mean, we would welcome good guidance on legislation to enable this, because there is no enabling legislation on the books right now for this fund. So, in essence, we're in no position to say something is allowable or unallowable. We're not, as staff, we're not going to take that position. So anything that comes in, we're going to process and put before you. So some good guidance and legislation would certainly be welcome.
Councilman Light?
I'll yield to Councilman Hoskin, and then I'd like to be next, please.
Well, I just briefly, I'll work on more of that legislation I had in mind, and I'll probably bring it back up at the next rules, and I'll get some guidance from our new attorney maybe by then if she's on board, and I'll also have asked the Attorney General. So my goal is for this committee to get you guys some good guidance. Thank you. Yield back to Councilman.
May I ask a question, Councilman Hoskin? Do you envision this fund coming under your legislation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it would spell out what community assistance is for, and if I could, I mean, I think in our district, you know, we have a lot of community organizations that do a lot for Cherokee people. Sometimes they're 51% Cherokee, sometimes they're not, and over the years, sometimes they're a school, and over the years, even my predecessor, my father, would get community assistance fund for them. I think it's a very good fund, so I don't want to do anything that restricts that. I just want to kind of spell out what a community assistant project is, so that our staff knows what it is, so that the council knows what it is, so that when we approve something, somebody can go to a law and say, oh, they approved community assistance, this is what it must have been. Instead of now we're kind of guessing in hindsight, well, was a mailer appropriate? So anyway, I hope that is responsive.
But I guess, Doug, if I can ask a question, all of this mail that's coming back will be owed for by somebody. And who's going to owe that? This fund,
Ultimately, the tribal council
it will owe that.
budget will have to cover those costs.
And so what budget do they have left to take from?
Community, well, I think there's about, if I remember right off memory from what Gail told me, a couple of the counselors, I understand they're not here, so they may have about $1,000 left in either their mailing or community meeting, one of those two, but that's it. And this return cost is going to be significantly in excess of that. So I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know any other fund except community assistance. And if not, it's going to have to be coming out of the tribal council's budget, you know, some other line item, of which I think you guys would have to give me guidance on that, on how to charge it off. But we're going to incur it, and the council incurred it, so we're going to have to pay it.
Okay, is that all?
I'm going to yield some time to Councilor Jordan, but I'm still going to hold the floor.
Well, having now to really worry about the budget, yesterday I didn't have to worry about the budget, today I do. I don't think it's fair that the other council people be punished for what has happened. We don't want it to happen again, but we're going to have to cover what has come back. And I think the only place to do it will be out of this budget, out of their community funds. But then I would hope, as a body, that we will make sure this never happens again, and that we will develop some rules. I too don't believe this is what community assistance was for. I always thought community assistance was for those areas within our district that fell through the cracks. And I don't think this was a fall through the crack type situation. It's sad that this has happened, really. The way I used my mail-out money was with postcards, because they were the cheapest thing in the world that you could use. And if you wanted to get information out there to your people, you could gen your postcards on the printer that you were given, using the computer that you were given, stick the stamp on it, and send it out of here. Many a time, I have been out here, brought my postcards out here, used stamps, and we had us even asked the day workers one time, I think, to come and help us to get some information that I felt was critical out to my district's folks. And with a postcard, basically it ends up with, well, you can get about 3 mail outs, especially if you called your list down and you already know what your bad addresses are. You get your bad addresses on the first round and you make sure that you don't throw them back in the pot the next time. So I don't know what data they were using to get their mail out.
Registration.
Well, we used registration, but we made sure the next time that none of those came back to us, those bad addresses. Because we had, that very first time, 4 years ago, that I did a mail out, had stacks of them come back. We made sure that we corrected them on the list that I keep at my office, because I assumed everybody kept their own data list. And that's, I've tried to build one for myself. And also made sure that they knew about it over in admin so that we didn't come back out with that list again. And now when we do a mail out, we get very, very few come back. So it's a bad thing, but folks, we will have to take it from somewhere. We have to pay our debts. It's kind of like we're all agents for everybody else. We've got to pay our debts. And you're going to have to get your debt paid where it least hurts the folks that wasn't involved in this situation. And that is the only account that I can see where it takes just from the district that this happened to, right?
And it would be consistent with what was authorized the first time.
So I just ask you to take that into consideration. That's all I say.
Well, and I appreciate that. The thing is, they put one over on us the first time. Are we gonna let them do it the second time?
Well,
That's my question.
just in response, if I may, we could stop that from happening tonight, ever again, except for covering what's already happened. We could simply make a motion that no mail-out money will ever come from community assistance while Mr. Hoskins works on rules.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we do not allow mail-out money to come out of this fund in anticipation of proper and complete and full legislation on what all of our funds are supposed to be used for coming from Mr. Hoskins.
Do I hear a second?
A second with a friendly, that to cover the loss of the mail-outs that have come back, they must pay for it out of their community assistance funds.
That's acceptable. Thank you.
For the next fiscal year or this year? This year. This year.
For this year, they'll have to do it this year, because that bill's gonna come to us probably pretty quick.
Yeah.
I assume the mailroom sends it. Somebody's gotta pay it.
Okay, discussion, any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilman Thornton, you was next.
We still on something. The only thing about this fund for community assistance is in the past years, I hope that now that we can change it up a little bit, because in the past years, I've been pretty well wheeled around with this community assistance. And most of it is for trying to help my Cherokees that were seniors that had Letterman's jackets coming and they couldn't afford it. And that would, you know about that, Joe. We got a lot of that going in our country. And also on state rings, if somebody won the state, we try to help them get the ring. And I think we need to also put in those schools, you know, where we can help those schools around. And some of the things that the schools need that fall through the cracks that we can't help them, we need to try and help them. Not only on that, but on some of their equipment, their baseball fields. There's several of them need a lot of help, and it's hard to get help through community services. unless you really know how to write grants and you know what you do. But we have a lot of kids that fall through the cracks, they need help, and it's kind of silly for us to have this assistance funding, and not be able to help our kids. And that's just the way I look at it, whether it be my kid or your kid or whatever, you know, and they deserve that just as well as anybody else. That's just the way I feel about it. If they need help, they need help. And I'm sure like to add that to this community assistance program because I got rolled around pretty good. But I come out of it. But I didn't like it.
Would you like to get with Mr. Hoskins? And put your 2 cents in and maybe everybody send Mr. Hoskins and Mr. Thornton their rathers? I think they volunteered.
I think I have another man over here brought this up.
Is that all, David? Is that all? Okay. Councilman Walking Stick.
Thought I addressed it already. Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Gloria Jordan.
Well, you already got the suggestion on the table. Let's all give our ideas to Chuck, because my belief is that we can write us a good set of rules and everybody will be happy with it. We just need somebody to commit to writing them, and he's committed to such an endeavor, so let's get that information to him.
I think that's good because, you know, the difference between Chuck and me is that he's a lawyer and I'm a layman.
All that you're working at. Is
I
that
don't know
it?
nothing.
You were Mr. Bourbon?
Well, you said it, the needs are different by district.
Yeah.
One,
Pretty
you gave pantry, Marble
Yeah.
City pantry.
Yeah, but some of that didn't really go on so if we want to get into that, then I don't care whether people know it or not, but when people are giving free lunches away and thinking about to let them come in and eat on Thanksgiving and give out 400 something meals, it's time to help those people
Yeah.
in the area, in the back cut area.
I forgot to put them in the cemetery, help me next time.
Doug?
Bell Farm.
Do we seem to be looking at a $25,000, $30,000 mailer
Bell Farm.
when it's all said and done?
On the cemetery, help me next time. on that.
Well, I'm not really sure. When Gail informed me that there was return requested, I'm maybe using the wrong terminology because I'm not familiar. She said, and I asked her what that meant. She said, well, there's going to be postage charge for all of them that came back. But she didn't tell me how much it would be exactly per envelope. So I don't have any idea how much it's going to be. All Gail told me was it was going to be far in excess of what they had remaining in their community mailing.
How many stamps did it take to mail out?
I don't know. I think it's metered.
And it's gonna take every bit of that to return it. So that's what I'm saying, I'm here and I'm looking at $25,000, $30,000 mailer. Could you get us the total?
Yeah,
I'd appreciate it.
I don't know when they'll, I assume in the next week or so, we should get all returns that would be returned, I suspect.
Okay.
But yeah, I can,
Okay, if that's all, we can move on to the next item, the 457B planned conversion status. Mr. Horton, do you have anything to say, or you asked to put this on there?
Does the mail out stay on here tonight?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Here it is. We're gonna start on the 457B plan. You asked that it was be
It's
put
just
on
Jody
the
fishing now.
You asked me to put it on there, sir, but I will take the lead.
I'm going to turn that over to my chauffeur. He knows more about it than I do, standing right back there in the back.
Driver too.
It's so simple.
oh, now you float? Oh, well. Okay. Real quick, as you recall, there came out with a ruling by the Internal Revenue Service several years ago that in essence made the determination that states, accordingly it's held that the amounts paid to members of tribal councils for services performed by them as council members do not constitute wages for the purpose of Federal Insurance Contributions Act, or FICA, Federal Unemployment Tax Act, and the collections of income tax on source and wage. What that did was, as you recall, it removed the tribal counselors from being able to have payments made in Social Security on your behalf. So to replenish that and make you whole, we created a 457B plan. And last summer it was determined that the IRS has issued another opinion that says 457s are not eligible, tribes are not eligible employers for 457 purposes. So that put us in the need for an alternative plan for your retirement. And the Benefits Department has proposed a 401k plan, and what you have before you is a one-page summary of comparisons between your current 457B plan and the proposed 401k plan. This is it's still in kind of design mode here, but at least it has enough of the variables and features to each plan that we can look at it comparatively and understand just what is being proposed by the Benefit Department. The contribution is still has a $17,000 limit. However, as you notice on the proposed plan on the far right column, the 401k, the match will be in addition to the $17,000. So actually, you have a higher upper limit on the plan, the 401k, than you do your 457. The allowable, the catch-up contributions are both based on age 50, and both allow an additional $5,500. So there's no change there. The match is where you will see a change. The current is 100% of 7.65, which is the prevailing Social Security rate, and that's where that came from. Was this make you whole from when you were removed from Social Security? So the proposed is 100% for the first 5 and 50% for the next 4. So it maxes at 7. That is the same as employees here at the nation. Now, here's a caveat. CMB has a similar plan, but its match is a little different. It's a flat 6. Is that correct? It's a flat 6. And if you start taking features from the Cherokee Nation plan that you like and features from CMB's plan that you like, and you combine them together into one plan that's better than both of them, it's unallowable. Is that correct?
Right. There was some IRS guidance issued in November of last year that a tribe that has commercial activity, we're a governmental plan, but the CNB, they also have a 401k plan. A tribe cannot give greater benefits than they do their commercial employees. They have a safe harbor plan. They match $1 for $1 up to 6%, but they have a waiting period, or they don't have a waiting period on their match. Tribal plan does have a waiting period, but matches an additional 1%. I talked to the plan attorney about this, and she said you either need to go with what CNB has on their plan, or the tribal government has on their plan, or it could be seen as outside of that guidance and risk jeopardizing the plan status, governmental status.
Perfect. Perfect. Is everybody clear on that? Okay. And that takes you down to the next.
Doug, how does the Eastern Band, is it have such a good retirement?
I think they have a pension, do they not?
That's what I don't, that's what I'm asking.
Well, that's totally different. Well, no, well, this serves as a pen. I mean, this is a retirement plan. It's not a pension.
Okay, that's the difference.
Yeah. Pensions are a different beast.
Okay.
Very expensive, very extremely expensive. But anyway, the vesting cycle's the same. Oh, by the way, step back up. The matching date. You see how the 457, as you came onto the council, you could immediately start participating in that plan. The proposed 401k plan has a 6-month waiting period because that's what the nation's plan, the governmental plan, has in it. The way it is right now, no one on the council right now will fall into a waiting period. Everyone can participate right now because of either past service, past employment. So you've already met that.
Right, we had two new council, but they have both had prior service with Cherokee Nation, and that time counts. So no one currently on council would be having a wait period.
And,
Okay.
and what you're saying is on the 457B, we had 7.65% of your salary that you can put in the matching funds. And on the 401K is gonna be 7%. If we take the 401K, is that right?
To get a full 7 match, you would have to put in 9. Your first 5 would have a dollar for dollar 5. Your next 4 would have 50% of that, which would get you 2 more over here. So it'd take 9 to get 7. And that's the way the governmental plan for employees is.
And we can't use the C and B because it would be just a straight 6%.
It'd be, it would be straight 6, but it'd have no waiting period. Any other
But she just said
differences?
401K wouldn't have a waiting period. Yes.
The CNB, you are eligible to begin participation, but you have a 60-day waiting period. But your match begins as soon as that 60 days is over. You start participating yourself. The vesting is immediate, but the negative to that is you're only going to get your 6% match. But you only have to put 6% in to get your 6%. So it's still a lower match.
Councilwoman Jordan?
On the vesting,
That's your turn.
do we get credit for the prior 4 years, or does the vesting start when we change over to the 401? So if you've been on 4, then you're already at the 4.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what I need to know. And there is no waiting period because we're already in the deal.
That's correct.
Why don't you
Okay.
say waiting period?
And no current counselors that we have right now would fall into a waiting period.
Right.
Okay, so everyone can immediately participate.
Would we have to pay any kind of percentage out of pulling this out of 457?
Should be direct rollover, should it not? In a conversion? Would the question was, would they be paying any type of percentage or figure anything to go in, to convert or roll over into this plan?
No.
There's no fee associated with
You
rollover.
just roll it over, and then we would need new enrollment forms. But there's no fee to roll it over. We'll need each person to fill out a form to say what they want to do with it, because technically you could take it out of the plan as a taxable distribution if you wanted to. You don't have to roll it over.
Councilwoman Jordan, you still have the floor.
Well, if
No, he's not finished.
if you take it out, why should you have to pay a percentage if it's not our fault? It shouldn't have been put in there in the first place.
Anytime you take it out, the IRS is going to tax you. Doesn't matter. Even
Well, why
if
doesn't-
you were to take it out and roll it over to an IRA, and when you take it out of that IRA, it's taxable. Because,
Why shouldn't the nation be responsible for that?
well, you're not
If
going
they,
to.
if they give us the okay to do it and it wasn't legal, why shouldn't the nation be responsible for paying percentage?
Well, this isn't a penalty.
But we're getting penalized if we don't if we take it out.
Well, if you roll it
Getting
into
penalized, we
another,
gotta pay a percentage. Is that not right?
no.
If we don't enroll in 401K and we take it out, then we're getting penalized. We've got to pay a percentage of that. Not right?
You will anyway, once your tenure ends with the council, you will anyway. If you're over age 55, 59 and a half. If you're over age 59 and a half, you have no penalty anyway. The only percentage is going to be charged as tax, isn't it?
If I could address this issue and
Go right ahead.
the water a little bit. Okay, the 401K, let's talk about 59 and a half. 59 and a half gives you the option without any pre-tax penalties on any withdrawals you take out. But without the early withdrawal, you will be subject to income tax because you're going to have to show it as income in your 401K plans. Okay, now, under the plan, like you mentioned earlier, we're a government entity plan with Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma. Now, the gaming industries had to go commercial, which are subject to ERISA. Whereas the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma is not subject to, we'll say tribal, is not subject to ERISA plan. So that gives us an advantage. And now there's a catch-up where old people like me, that's 59 and a half and old, I can contribute additional monies for catch-up monies, since I'm probably not expected to live another 50 years or something. So that way, one of these days, I'll have money somewhere saved and go fishing because I want to and not because I have to. So, and then there was, in this 401k plan, there is only vesting schedule you had mentioned, is that, okay, the utopian thought is, even if we had new council members coming on and they signed on, the utopian hope is you don't get recalled in 6 months, so you can become vested. That's the only caveat in that, and that's the only concern you should have with the 6-month vesting schedule. And with the way the money would be set up for the council members and officials, I think this is probably the best route you can go. You can do direct rollovers if, with this plan without any penalties, without any charges. Because number one, the 401k plan administrators are wanting all this money because it's how they make their money, and we want the most money so we can command a better rate. So we encourage everybody to throw your money into the 401k so that way everybody can benefit from it. Now, if I muddy up the water too much, just kick me out.
No matter, how you count the apples here, we're having to go out from a 457 at 7.65% and drop that down to 7% or 6%. And we're losing the matching funds of 0.65%. And you can count apples all day long, but that's what's happened to us. And we're being penalized. That's the way I look at it. And I may look at it wrong. I don't know how to go.
That's right.
Councilman Jordan?
Does anyone else here have any other alternative?
I was gonna ask one. If you do not want to participate in the 401 as Mr. Thornton had suggested, can you roll your 457 out of the organization into your own financial institution
Yes, you can.
without paying taxes?
Right.
And I think that's what you were asking. If you choose not to participate and you want to go somewhere else, like say Edward and Jones, then you could roll it to that without a penalty, as long as your hands don't touch the money.
Exactly.
And then you can invest it hopefully where it makes a lot more than maybe what we're talking about here. I believe that's what you were asking. But if that money touches your hand, it's taxable.
That's right. It's not
Okay.
a penalty if the government wants their money. It's not been taxed before because you're putting it in a pre-tax plan.
And if I might just go a step further. Let's say you do that. And then you decide later, oh, I wish I'd got in that 401. Can you still get in the 401?
You can still participate.
Okay.
Now, I don't think you could roll back the IRA.
No, I mean, I know that's probably out there in Edwards and Jones or wherever you put it. But you could still participate. Basically, you'd be starting over.
You would be. Also on the 401k plan, it's a little, you have an option if you're 59 and a half to take an in-service withdrawal,
This money.
where you cannot on the 457. So if those that are age 59 and a half, they roll their funds over to the 401k, you can start making in-service withdrawals at 59 and a half.
Which we couldn't if we roll it into your 401.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
you
that's
Oh,
what
you
she's
can.
saying. You can-
Okay.
Right now, you can't on the board.
You can't, in your current
Okay.
457,
Okay.
make a withdrawal.
It's important because I'm getting there pretty quick.
You know, down that same question that David asked a while ago, I think that if, because of the ruling that came out and the error that was made in the 457 plan determination, if you people were to have any adverse tax consequences because of this, as long as you do, at no fault of yours, the nation should pick up that tax liability, because the nation is the one that imposed that liability upon you. Okay? But in this instance, we're trying to avoid such tax liability by creating an allowable option for you that gets as close to possible as we can within the difference of the 401 statute or code and the 457 code. That makes sense.
You don't do that kind of.
And I just have one additional question, and I'll not ask you more, I don't think. If we roll this over from 457 to 401, and we've left it in the same thing for the last 4 years, can you just keep it there and us not have to do anything else?
You mean the same investments?
Yes.
Well, no, probably a different investment platform. There's going to be several options, but they will not, and some of the investments may be the same, but maybe the one you're in, the particular one may change.
But there'll be very similar options, right? If they've been in a balanced fund, there'll be a balanced fund. If there was a small cap fund, there'll be a small cap fund. These plans have very similar options on the investment side of different types of risk tolerances that the investors are selecting to be placing their money into. So I'm sure these are going to be comparable, right?
They will be. They said that we can have as many funds as we want, but we're going to limit it and we'll look at the fund. They'll be fair.
Okay, I got Councilman Hoskins and then Gardner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think you've already explained this, but the reason we can't just create a 401k plan that has a 7.65% match is because we'd run afoul of the rule that says we can't have I think you said, articulate the rule for me because I'm struggling a bit with it.
A tribal government cannot have a better plan than a commercial.
Okay.
So that's what C&D has. They have safe harbor. So our attorney, the plan attorney that we consulted said, to be on the safe side, you want to either go with what the C&D option is or the Cherokee Nation Government Employee Plan. She wouldn't recommend doing the 7.65.
And there's no other way through any other sort of retirement instrument that we can make up for the shortfall that we're going to experience between changing from 457 to 401k. No other retirement instrument that's available to us.
Not with that guidance, I don't think so.
Okay.
No question.
Okay. Councilman Gardner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On this 7.65, part of that's our money and part of it's Cherokee Nation money. Kind of refreshed my memory. I think it changes at 6 or 5 or somewhere there.
On the new plan, proposed plan?
No,
The old one?
my money and Cherokee Nation money.
7.6, when you put 7.6,
7.65, some of it's mine, some of it's...
no, you put in 7.65 of yours,
Yes,
you get 7.65% match,
full match.
full match.
So if you come down to 7, you'll be losing...
7 and 7.
Be losing 0.65.
0.65 on, 0.65% on your salary a year.
That's what you lose.
Ken, I have one question. Ms. Burrell, I understand that your attorney has indicated that she would recommend, or he would recommend, that you don't, that this would indicate a better plan, quote unquote better. Is she measuring this based on, is she making that determination based on just the match? Or are there other features in here? In other words, if they were to forego a loan feature in order to get the 7.65, then could it be deemed as not better than
even though the commercial has a loan feature, if they forego a loan feature, then would you think the attorney would go, well, I mean, because it sounds like it could be possibly subjective as to determine what constitutes better.
I tried to go with that route, picking here and there, but she's pretty adamant, you wanna go with either the C and D.
Okay, so either the governmental plan or the commercial plan, okay.
Unless rules change.
Okay.
Cherokee Nation salary.
Now, that is one thing I'll point out, this 401K is gonna have a loan feature to it.
Okay, I would like Mr. Foster to be able to talk.
Okay. Just because you set up a plan document today does not mean you can't go back and revisit it. And it's kind of like an administrative direction type thing. Let's say if the IRS ruling should change and so forth, then you just draft a new plan document. Let's say, okay, you can contribute 10% if you want to, which probably never happen, but let's say they should go to that extreme. Well, then you just change your plan document to accommodate what is best for the employees or the elected officials and so forth. It's not carved in stone if legislation should change.
And they're still taking comments from tribes on this legislation. So it could change.
Any more discussion?
On what?
Whatever you want to talk about, Mr. Thornton.
Well, we've got some more here to go through. I want to see what else is going on here. Vesting schedule next?
Yes, vesting schedule's the same. There is a loan feature to the proposed 401K plan that I get, is any word on, she's working on that, or the TPA is working on, any word recently on if we can put a loan feature in it?
They don't think it's an issue, but no, I got a confirmation. We put it in the document and they reviewed it.
In-service withdrawals is a big difference from where you've been. You haven't been allowed to make any withdrawals in the 457 current plan you're in, but the 401K, if you're 59 and a half, it would allow withdrawals without the early withdrawal penalty, right? Early distribution penalty.
What kind of penalty is it?
That's 20. 10%.
It's still taxable, it's going in your pocket, but you won't have that 10%.
It's a 10% penalty of whatever you take out.
10% of whatever you take out.
Okay. Yeah.
Councilman Byrd.
I think we've discussed this pretty much, and we're losing people. Doug, I'd just like to say, I'm sure you guys have done your due diligence. You've done it with and taking care of the council members in years past, what works best for them. And usually we compare which tribe has the best precedent of these type of coverage, 401, 457. And usually you can look around here, if you just go in the state of Oklahoma, you say, well, what are the Chickasaws doing? How are they taking care of the elected officials? How are the Choctaws doing? If we're somewhere in that arena with them, this is probably a pretty good proposal here. I'm sure you guys have done that, correct?
I have not contacted the Chickasaw Nation to see what their elected official plans are, but I'd be more than happy to do that. I pointed out...
Down the Eastern, man, I know the pension's expensive. Those guys do very, very well. And I know you said it's expensive, but life is expensive. So what do we need to do here tonight other than just go in circles here?
Well, the current status of the 457 is what has had me uncomfortable for several months. Okay. When I found out back in June of last year that we are not in an allowable plan, I started questioning. Okay. And for various reasons, I didn't know anything was going on. I don't know what was happening, but what's coming back now is this proposed 401K plan as an acceptable alternative or an option to get all of you out of a plan that currently you should not be in. So to avoid that adverse tax situation, going to need to do something at some point in time, or I think that increases the odds of that tax liability actually being incurred. So if this isn't acceptable by the body, or if it is, we can proceed on a 401K. If it's not, then we need instruction of what do you want us to go and research?
I would move that we go with the 401, because most of the 401s I've ever been involved with, you could borrow against. And this 457, I don't know if you guys aren't old enough that, to remember this, but when I came into the tribe back in 87, and they've been on 95, we didn't even have a 401. We had a very difficult time recruiting teachers there at Sequoia High School. We weren't North Central accredited. We didn't have a 401. I couldn't recruit teachers, administrators. We started 401 around 95, 96. And some of you guys are too young to remember that. But 401 is a good plan. We can beat this horse to death, but I recommend we pass it.
Got one more question.
I think Don Garvin was next. Mr. Garvin.
I was just the opposite. I was wanting to table and postpone it till next month and give us a chance to talk to the Chickasaws and Choctaws. There might be something, better deal out there. It might not be, I don't know. But it'd be worth a try.
Yeah. That's okay with me too, but just vote on something.
Are you making a motion? Mr. Garber making a motion to table, Mr.
John,
Garber.
make a motion to table.
Okay, I withdraw my motion then.
Okay, okay, the motion's been made to table. Councilman Baker seconded. Let's vote on the table it. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Table for 1 month. Mr. Evans, would you please check other plans in the Eastern Band?
Yes.
On to number 3. I want to thank everybody for staying here.
Oh, we got hung up on that one.
And you talk about confusion today.
I think we have a competition so you can stay the longest.
You'll win.
Well, you'll win.
I'll win.
You have my report on Mod 6. It's technically correct.
A motion's been made to approve and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Sorry.
Bunch of winners.
All those opposed? Mod 6 is passed on. Okay, wait a moment, go ahead.
You do have one question here.
Doug, when you get the numbers for those returns, those letters that have been returned from the mail out for District 5, can you also get us the numbers that, and a list of employees and volunteers that worked on that mailer and the cost of any employee time and the shutdown of the mailroom?
I don't know how would that, I'm trying to figure out how I would do that, because I don't have access.
And you may not be able to get the
Is that
names.
a FOIA? Is that a?
GRA FOIA, could you draft one for Councilwoman Arden? Any announcements? Next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, March 29th at 3 o'clock. Make a motion to adjourn. Second. We're adjourned at 9:10.
Jody, you can't leave yet.
Okay.
Everyone drop off.